I don't know how you draw the line from tax rates to job creation when already a lot of corporations are very profitable, sitting on huge piles of cash and not hiring any new workers. When corporations, many of them, have increased the productivity of their workers by working them to the limit, working a lot of overtime in lieu of adding to their payrolls. What would one have to do with the other? Or what would one have to do with the other, Heather?
Well, I think you're right. I mean, we have seen growth come back to American companies. They're profitable. They're sitting on a lot of cash. They're seeing, as we've already discussed, very low. We have very low taxes right now in our economy because of a lot of things we've done over the past few years. Now, the challenge, the National Federation of Independent Businesses, by no means a liberal organization, it represents small business owners all across America, puts out this report each month where they ask small business owners, what is your biggest problem? And month after month, and especially over the past few months, they've been reporting the biggest problem is sales by a long shot. It's not taxes, it's not regulation, it's sales. And what sales means is customers coming through your doors. Is there demand in the economy? And what the Recovery Act was designed to do, and what it did actually quite effectively, was pump in some demand so that businesses still saw customers coming through their doors. Most of that money went out, a third of it went out in terms of tax cuts, a third of it went out in terms of infrastructure, and then a third of it went out in terms of other benefits like food stamps and unemployment insurance and the like. That helped boost demand. Those dollars are starting to fade, and this debt ceiling conversation, a lot of it is about how we're going to cut back on spending. If we do that in the short term, we're going to see less demand, fewer people with cash in their pocket, and businesses are going to see less customers. So the fundamental problem we need to think about in terms of job creation is where that demand is going to come from. Some of it comes from government, some of it we need to think about encouraging firms to invest and also encouraging exports.
Wasn't one of the things, Donald, that suppressed the net job gain numbers, the loss of public sector jobs, that reductions in public payrolls have been pretty steady month to month to month, and it's really starting to bite in the overall number of jobs. And some of these jobs were maintained by the stimulus money.
Right, and what you're seeing is a lot of that's at the state and local levels, right? We've been talking today about the fiscal problems that the federal government faces, and we shouldn't forget that many of the states in our union also have significant budget challenges. Many of them have been running deficits that in principle they shouldn't be able to run, and that one way they've been trying to address that is by cutting back on their staffing.
So if it's a demand problem, what happens to those people who fall off the edge? They have to buy certain things. They're going to continue to buy food. They're going to continue to pay their electric bill and their gas bill. They're going to continue to gas up their cars. But where do you see the slackening demand when someone stops being a teacher and can't find another job, stops being a highway patrolman, stops pruning trees in a state park? What happens in Indiana? What happens in Illinois? What happens in New York State when that starts to contract, that number?
Well, so first of all, you see people cut back on all the things you mentioned, right? So they may still buy some of that, but they'll buy less of it, right? So stop going to restaurants, eat at home, don't update your clothing as much. And then over time, what you see is then businesses see that happening if they see a slackening of demand, and then they'll respond by reducing their investment, reducing inventories, and you get kind of, a little bit of a cascading effect.
We saw people on the streets in New York City talking about starting their own businesses. God bless them, that if in this atmosphere they're willing to take a chance like that. But capital must be hard to get as well.
Well, I truly believe, contrary to what I heard here, I think I used to have a great professor, Mansur Olson, that said, if you don't know everything about economics, you know very little about economics. Which he meant by that is that all variables are connected. For example, demand, I don't think demand is the cause of the problem, it's the effect. The cause of the problem is the productivity, and the productivity will grow only in the private sector, not in the public sector, and it comes from confidence. Yes, you're right, all of these private companies are sitting in almost $3 trillion. That's what we heard, the last figure, because they don't know what's going to happen with the new regulations, with the health care. They don't know where the country is going, so they prefer to keep their money and not hire more people. If we increase the confidence level, then these private companies, they will hire more people. If they hire more people, the unemployment will be lower, and then these people will have the money to buy things, and that's the demand you are talking about. Once they start buying things, the economy keeps going, and then, as you say, capital is more available then. Then you can have these loans, you can have your small business, even if it's selling lemonade, but you need some capital to do that, and that's what this country is built on, in the confidence, in the ingenuity of the people, in the desire to reach the famous American dream. It's not based on entitlements.